Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most iconic and collectible coins, the legendary wheat penny. These classic Lincoln cents are more than just old pocket change. Some of them are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. Every single detail on these coins tells a story of American history, from the early 1900s through the 1950s, and you might be surprised at just how valuable that little penny in your collection could be. So stay with me through this entire video, because we'll uncover what makes certain wheat pennies so rare, how to identify the valuable ones, and which years can turn an ordinary find into a real treasure. And before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your fellow collectors. You don't want to miss what's coming next in the world of American coins. Let's get started. First up, the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny with the S mint mark is one of those fascinating American coins that collectors love to talk about. At first glance, it may seem like just another old 1-cent piece, but when you take a closer look, you'll realize how much history, beauty, and potential value this coin really carries. The S mint mark, located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, stands for the San Francisco Mint, one of the U.S. mint branches that produced some of the most collectible wheat pennies in American numismatic history. The 1951 S wheat penny is made primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, just like most Lincoln cents of that era. It features the classic design by Victor David Brenner, showing the right-facing bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. On the reverse, the simple yet iconic design displays two wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing the agricultural roots and strength of early 20th century America. In 1951, the San Francisco Mint struck a total of over 136 million of these wheat pennies, which might sound like a lot, but only a small portion of those coins remain in high-quality, well-preserved condition today. Most circulated heavily through the 1950s and 1960s, meaning they suffered from wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. Because of that, collectors today pay close attention to the condition and luster of each 1951 S penny they find. Now, let's talk about why the 1951 S Lincoln wheat penny is valuable. Even though it's not the rarest coin in the wheat penny series, it still holds strong interest due to its age, copper composition, and mint mark. Many collectors aim to complete a full set of Lincoln wheat cents from 1909 to 1958, and the 1951 S is an essential piece in that timeline. The S mint mark gives a special edge, as coins from San Francisco during this period are known for their distinctive strike quality and sometimes lower survival rate in pristine condition. If you happen to come across a 1951 S wheat penny in your change or coin collection, take a close look at its color, detail, and any signs of mint luster. Uncirculated examples, known as mint state coins, can bring surprisingly high prices. Coins with a bright red or red-brown color and sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard are particularly desirable. In contrast, those that are brown and heavily circulated tend to have modest collector value, often ranging from just a few cents to a few dollars, depending on eye appeal. However, the real excitement comes with coins in top condition. For example, a 1951 S Lincoln wheat penny graded in superb mint state condition once sold at auction for an impressive $6,900. That's nearly $7,000 for a 1-cent coin. That record-setting price was achieved because the coin was in nearly perfect condition, displaying strong strike quality, rich red color, and no visible marks. This sale demonstrates that even a common-date wheat penny can become extremely valuable when preserved in exceptional quality. Collectors also look for interesting varieties or errors on the 1951 S penny. Sometimes, you might find coins with double dies, repunched mint marks, or striking issues that make them unique. These mint errors can significantly raise a coin's value, especially when verified by experts. A 1951 S penny showing clear doubling on the date or lettering could easily attract strong attention among collectors searching for rare variations. Beyond its value, the 1951 S wheat penny represents a meaningful piece of American history. It was produced just a few years after World War II, during a time of growth and optimism in the United States. Every penny minted during this era circulated through the hands of hardworking Americans, farmers, factory workers, and families rebuilding their lives. Holding a 1951 wheat penny today feels like holding a tiny piece of that post-war American spirit. Collectors often note that the San Francisco mint coins from the early 1950s, including the 1951 tend to have strong eye appeal, sometimes displaying a beautiful reddish gold toning that develops naturally over decades. When viewed under light, the original mint luster can still sparkle, showing just how carefully these coins were produced. If you're building a Lincoln wheat penny collection, the 1951 is a must-have coin. While circulated examples remain affordable and easy to find, searching for an uncirculated piece can be a rewarding challenge. Every collector dreams of finding that one shining copper-red penny in a roll or collection that turns out to be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. When evaluating your 1951 penny, pay attention to small details: Lincoln's cheekbone, the sharpness of the lettering, and the clarity of the wheat stalks on the reverse. The crisper these features are, the higher the potential value. The slightest blemish can make a big difference, but pristine coins are what collectors truly desire. Interestingly, the 1951 wheat penny also serves as a reminder of how America's coinage changed over time. Just 7 years later, in 1958, the iconic wheat reverse was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. That shift marked the end of an era, making all wheat pennies historically significant to collectors who value early 20th century American designs. Some coin enthusiasts enjoy roll hunting, searching through rolls of old pennies from banks or coin dealers, in hopes of uncovering a rare find. Believe it or not, many 1951 pennies still circulate quietly among older coin jars, and with enough patience, you might discover one with stunning luster or an overlooked variety. It's the thrill of the hunt that keeps coin collecting alive and exciting in America. So, while not every 1951 Lincoln wheat penny will make you rich, some certainly can. The coin's age, history, and potential for rarity make it an appealing addition to any collection. Even if you find a slightly worn example, it still carries value for anyone who loves classic American coinage. And if you come across a bright, uncirculated piece with no marks, it could be worth hundreds, or in rare cases, thousands of dollars. The story of the 1951 wheat penny is not just about copper and mint marks. It's about American heritage, craftsmanship, and the simple idea that even a penny can hold immense worth when preserved with care. Every collector, from beginner to expert, knows that finding one in pristine condition is like holding a small but powerful piece of American art. If you have one of these coins, handle it carefully and store it in a protective holder to prevent further wear. With the right conditions, the value of these wheat pennies can continue to rise over time, especially as collectors seek out the best examples from the post-war era. So next time you come across a 1951 penny with that little s below the date, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, because that small copper coin could be one of the valuable survivors from an important chapter in American minting history. And remember, one single 1951 Lincoln wheat penny in top-notch condition sold for $6,900, proving that these coins can truly surprise collectors and investors alike. It's stories like these that make coin collecting such a rewarding journey, turning everyday finds into pieces of American treasure. Next up, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark is one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatic history. It's a small copper coin that tells a huge story, a story about wartime America, historical change, and a coin that can be worth thousands of dollars, depending on its condition and composition. Many collectors and everyday Americans have heard rumors about valuable 1944 pennies, and the truth is, some of them are indeed worth a fortune. Let's start with what makes the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny so special. In 1944, the United States Mint returned to using copper for its 1-cent coins after producing steel cents in 1943 to conserve copper for World War II. So, when the 1944 pennies were struck, they were made from recycled shell casings left over from the war effort. That means the metal used in these coins literally came from the battlefields of World War II, giving the 1944 penny deep historical meaning and emotional value for collectors. The 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and it's one of the most commonly found coins from the wheat penny series. However, its popularity doesn't come from its mintage numbers alone. It comes from its connection to the war and the chance that it could be one of the rare off-metal varieties that bring enormous prices at auction. In total, over 1.4 billion 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies, without a mint mark, were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. But among these, there are a few rare examples that were accidentally made using leftover steel planchets from the previous year, 1943. Those are the famous 1944 steel cents. And if you find one of those, it could be worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even the regular copper 1944 no mint mark wheat penny is highly collectible. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, featuring President Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, and on the reverse side, the familiar pair of wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This classic design ran from 1909 through 1958. And it remains one of the most beloved and recognizable coin designs in the United States. Now, when it comes to value, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark can be surprisingly valuable in high grades. While circulated examples may only be worth a few cents or a dollar, uncirculated coins, those that have never been used and still retain their original mint luster, can command much higher prices. Collectors pay close attention to the color and condition of these coins. Red tone examples, known as red or RD in grading terminology, are the most sought after, followed by red-brown RB, and then brown BN coins. The highest auction price ever recorded for a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark was an astonishing $15,600. This sale was for a coin in superb mint state condition, with blazing red luster, perfectly preserved surfaces, and sharp details in Lincoln's portrait. That record-breaking price shows that even a penny that most people might overlook can turn into a valuable collectible when it's in perfect condition. Collectors often wonder what separates a valuable 1944 penny from an ordinary one. The answer comes down to condition, metal composition, and rarity. The typical 1944 penny was made of copper, but there are those extremely rare versions struck on steel planchets that belong to 1943. These accidental errors occurred when a few leftover steel blanks from 1943 were mistakenly used in 1944. Those rare steel 1944 pennies are among the most valuable wheat pennies ever found, with some examples selling for more than $100,000. But even the copper 1944 pennies hold great interest. They are a reminder of America's transition from wartime production back to peace, as the U.S. Mint returned to using copper sourced from spent ammunition shells. Every 1944 penny, even the most common one, carries a piece of that history in its metal. When examining a 1944 no mint mark wheat penny, collectors look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat, as well as clear lettering and full wheat stalks on the reverse. Any wear, discoloration, or scratches will reduce its value, but coins kept in pristine condition can surprise collectors with how much they bring in today's market. For example, a bright red 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Coins that look like they were struck yesterday, with full shine and sharp detail, are what collectors dream of owning. Now let's talk about one of the most exciting stories in coin collecting, the rare 1944 steel wheat penny. In 1943, all U.S. pennies were made from zinc-coated steel instead of copper, to conserve copper for military needs. When production switched back to copper in 1944, a few leftover steel blanks accidentally made it into the presses at all three mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint examples, which have no mint mark, are the most famous. If you find a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, that means it's made of steel, and you could be holding a six-figure coin in your hand. These steel 1944 pennies are considered off-metal errors, and they're among the most famous and valuable mistakes in all of U.S. coinage. The fact that one of these rare coins sold for over $100,000 has inspired thousands of Americans to start searching their old jars and drawers for hidden treasures. Even aside from the rare steel version, the 1944 no mint mark wheat penny remains a key collectible in the Lincoln Cent series. Its popularity has grown because it represents a turning point in American coinage, a time when the nation was moving from war to peace, and when the mint resumed its traditional materials and designs. The historical significance of this coin can't be overstated. Every 1944 penny circulated through the hands of Americans, rebuilding their lives after the war, buying groceries, paying for transportation, or saving for the future. Each coin tells the story of ordinary people in extraordinary times. If you have a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, it's worth taking a close look at its condition and characteristics. Check if it's magnetic, because that simple test could tell you if you found one of the ultra-rare steel examples. Next, look at the color and luster. A bright red penny from 1944 could still be worth hundreds of dollars if it's in mint condition. Collectors value the 1944 no mint mark wheat penny not only for its potential price, but also for what it represents. It's a symbol of American perseverance, history, and the beauty of classic coin design. These coins have stood the test of time, and they continue to capture the imagination of collectors and history enthusiasts across the United States. As the years go by, fewer pristine examples remain, and that scarcity makes them even more desirable. The copper used in 1944 pennies naturally darkens and tones over time, but well-preserved examples with bright red surfaces are treasures that stand out. Many collectors today specialize in finding the best versions of these coins, those with deep luster, minimal marks, and clear detail in Lincoln's features. The 1944 no mint mark wheat penny is a perfect example of how something small can have enormous value. It's a coin that has been in circulation for over 8 decades, and yet it continues to draw attention from both new and experienced collectors. Whether you find one in your change, inherit it from a relative, or buy it from a dealer, it's a piece of American history you can hold in your hand. And again, it's worth remembering, the highest price ever paid for a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark was $15,600 for a coin in near-perfect condition. That's living proof that these coins are not just old copper cents. They're valuable pieces of American heritage that can surprise anyone who takes the time to look closely. So, the next time you come across a 1944 penny, especially one without a mint mark, take a second to appreciate what it represents. You might be holding a rare collectible, a historical artifact, or even a small fortune in your palm. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny reminds us that every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story can be worth far more than just 1 cent. Next up, the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark is one of those coins that may look simple at first glance, but it carries a story of value, rarity, and rich American history. Many people overlook these small copper cents, but coin collectors know that a single 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny in exceptional condition can be worth far more than its face value. And in fact, one of these coins is sold for thousands of dollars at auction, proving that not all pennies are created equal. The 1953 D wheat penny was minted in Denver, Colorado, and bears the small D mint mark just below the date on the front side of the coin. Like all wheat pennies, it features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, you'll see the 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, a design that symbolizes the nation's agricultural roots and strength during the early 20th century. The 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that warm, reddish-brown color that collectors love. The Denver Mint struck over 700 million of these pennies in 1953, precisely 700,515,000 coins, to be exact. That may sound like a lot, but finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition today is much more difficult than you'd think. Most of these coins went into circulation and saw years of heavy use, meaning they became scratched, dull, or discolored over time. When it comes to collectability, the 1953 D-Wheat penny holds a special place in the hearts of coin enthusiasts. Even though it's not among the rarest Lincoln cents, it's still one of the most popular because of its beautiful design, affordable entry price, and potential for high value in exceptional grades. Collectors who focus on completing a full Lincoln wheat cent set always need the 1953 D to fill an important spot between the early post-war issues. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1953 D-Wheat penny truly valuable. In circulated condition, these coins are usually worth anywhere from a few cents up to $1, depending on the amount of wear. However, uncirculated examples with full mint luster and bright red surfaces can bring in much higher prices. Coin collectors grade these coins on a numerical scale, with mint state grades MS60 to MS67 and higher, representing the best preserved examples. The redder and shinier the coin, the higher its value tends to be. The most valuable examples are those that have been perfectly preserved since the day they were minted. Coins that never entered circulation, were kept safe, and still retain their full fiery red copper color. These coins are rare because copper is reactive and tends to darken over time. So, if you find a 1953 D penny that still has that original bright orange-red glow, it could be worth much more than you expect. In fact, the highest auction price ever recorded for a 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny was an incredible $7,475 for a stunning mint state 67 plus red example. That record-breaking sale showed just how much collectors are willing to pay for a top-quality coin from this era. A coin like that is virtually flawless under magnification, with full detail in Lincoln's hair and beard, smooth fields, and rich, original mint luster. This auction result proves that even coins with large mintages can achieve tremendous value when they're preserved perfectly. For every one coin like that, there are millions of 1953 D pennies that have been worn down and lost their shine. But that's what makes the exceptional ones so desirable and valuable. The Denver Mint in 1953 was known for strong strike quality, and many of these pennies show sharp details when well preserved. But some coins from that year do exhibit weak strikes or die wear, meaning collectors always look closely at the lettering, Lincoln's portrait, and the wheat stalks to judge quality. The sharper and clearer the details, the better the grade and the higher the price. Now, beyond condition, there are also a few varieties and errors that make certain 1953 D-Wheat pennies even more interesting. Some coins were struck with slight doubling on the date or lettering, while others show repunched mint marks, where the D was struck more than once during the minting process. These small variations can greatly increase a coin's desirability and value among era collectors. Every now and then, a collector might even find a 1953 D penny with a dramatic minting mistake, such as an off-center strike, die cracks, or lamination flaws. These unique characteristics turn an ordinary penny into a one-of-a-kind collectible. The more dramatic the error, the more exciting the find. But even without errors, the 1953 D-Wheat penny is loved because it represents a significant period in American history. It was struck during the early years of the post-war boom, a time when America was growing, prospering, and modernizing. Every one of these coins passed through the hands of hard-working Americans in the 1950s, buying groceries, newspapers, and gas when the price of a gallon was only about 20 cents. Holding one today is like holding a tiny piece of that era's spirit and progress. Collectors appreciate these pennies not just for their potential value, but for their nostalgia. Many people still remember finding wheat pennies like this in their pocket change as kids, long before the design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. Because of that, these coins have emotional value as well as monetary value. If you happen to find a 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny in your change, don't be too quick to spend it. First, check the mint mark and the date carefully. If it has that small D beneath 1953, you've got a coin from the Denver Mint. Next, look at its color. Is it a rich reddish tone or a dull brown? The redder and more lustrous the coin, the higher its potential worth. Also, check for any unusual marks, doubling, or other irregularities that could point to a rare minting variety. For collectors, even a small upgrade in quality can mean a big difference in price. A 1953 D-wheat penny in average circulated condition might only bring a few cents, but a brilliant red uncirculated example can sell for $50, $100, or more. And as we mentioned earlier, the finest known examples, those graded at the highest mint state levels, have sold for thousands. What's truly fascinating about the 1953 D-penny is how it connects everyday Americans to their history. It reminds us that something as simple as a 1-cent coin can hold great significance. It's not just about its metal content, it's about its story, its age, and its preservation. Each coin tells a tale of American craftsmanship and resilience. The copper composition also gives the coin a timeless appeal. Over the decades, collectors have learned to appreciate how beautifully copper coins tone and age, with some turning golden or even iridescent over time. These natural color changes make each coin unique, and when that toning occurs evenly, it can even increase a coin's visual appeal and collector interest. Another reason the 1953 D-wheat penny is so collectible is that it's part of the final decade of the wheat design series. The wheat reverse ended in 1958, so coins from the early 1950s are among the last to feature that classic design. This makes them even more desirable to collectors who want to preserve the full history of the Lincoln cent from its beginning in 1909 to its final wheat years in the 1950s. Whether you're a casual coin hunter or a serious numismatist, the 1953 D. Lincoln wheat penny deserves a place in your collection. It's a coin that represents American tradition, artistry, and the enduring value of even the smallest denomination. And while millions were minted, the finest examples remain scarce, making them true treasures when found in exceptional condition. So, when you look at a 1953 D penny, remember that one of these coins once sold for $7,475, a price that proves just how much collectors value quality and history. You might not have one that rare today, but who knows? Maybe the next one you find will be the hidden gem that surprises everyone. Even today, the Lincoln wheat penny continues to capture the hearts of Americans across generations. From kids learning about coins for the first time to seasoned collectors chasing perfection, the 1953 D. Lincoln wheat penny stands as a timeless reminder that history and value can be found in the palm of your hand. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark is one of the most fascinating coins from mid-20th century America. It's a coin that many people still find in their old jars, drawers, or family coin boxes. But what most don't realize is that this humble-looking penny can actually be worth much more than its face value. Whether you're a casual collector, a treasure hunter, or simply curious about coins, the 1945 wheat penny tells an incredible story of history, craftsmanship, and surprising value. The no mint mark 1945 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at the time did not use a mint mark. This means that when you look just below the date on your penny and see no letter, that's your clue it came from Philadelphia. The coin was part of the famous wheat penny series, one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. On the obverse side, it features the familiar right-facing bust of President Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. On the reverse side, you'll see the two wheat stalks framing the denomination 1 cent, along with the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum. The wheat penny design itself is legendary among collectors, symbolizing the strength and resilience of the American people during times of war, recovery, and economic growth. The 1945 wheat penny was minted just as World War II was coming to an end, a year that marked hope, progress, and new beginnings for the United States. That historical connection adds emotional value to this coin, making it more than just copper and metal. It's a piece of the American story. Now, let's talk about its composition. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny was struck using 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the same composition used before and after the 1943 steel cents. During 1943, the U.S. Mint temporarily made pennies out of steel coated with zinc to conserve copper for the war effort. But by 1944, the Mint returned to using copper again, this time sourced from recycled shell casings from the war. So the metal in your 1945 penny may actually come from recycled wartime materials. giving it real historical depth and patriotic meaning. The Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous quantity of these coins, more than 1,019,45 Lincoln wheat pennies, specifically 1,040,515,000 pieces. While that means it's not considered rare in general circulation, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is much harder. Over the years, most of these coins circulated heavily, losing their original shine and picking up scratches, discoloration, and wear. But a small number of these coins were stored safely in rolls or sets and have survived in excellent condition, and those are the coins that can be worth serious money today. When it comes to determining the value of a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, condition is everything. Coins are typically categorized as brown, red-brown, or full red based on their surface color. Red coins, those that retain their bright copper luster, are the most desirable and command the highest prices. Even a small difference in tone or surface preservation can have a big impact on a coin's value. In average circulated condition, a 1945 no mint mark penny might only be worth a few cents. But in higher grades, especially mint state, the value increases sharply. Collectors look for coins with clean fields, strong strike details, and vibrant color. Sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and the wheat stalks on the back are indicators of a well-preserved strike. The most valuable examples of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny are those that have remained untouched and uncirculated since they were minted, and the results at auction have proven just how valuable these coins can be when they're found in pristine condition. The highest recorded auction price for a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark was an incredible $14,950. That record was set for a stunning mint state 67 plus red example, a coin that looked as if it had just left the press, with brilliant color, immaculate surfaces, and no visible flaws even under magnification. That kind of price shows how a common coin can become a true collector's treasure. While the majority of 1945 pennies may not reach such high values, the very best examples, those in the highest mint state grades, are worth thousands of dollars. Collectors and investors actively seek out these top-quality coins, knowing they represent the finest surviving pieces of American minting history. Another fascinating aspect of the 1945 no mint mark penny is the occasional appearance of mint errors and varieties. Some examples show minor die cracks, doubled lettering, or repunched elements that can add extra appeal. A few are known to exhibit doubling on the date or the word liberty, which can boost their value significantly. While these varieties are not as famous as those from earlier dates like 1955 or 1972, they still attract strong attention among collectors. Even though the 1945 wheat penny is not considered rare by mintage numbers, its popularity remains high because of its affordability, beauty, and connection to a defining period in U.S. history. Collectors of all experience levels enjoy owning this coin, and it continues to be one of the most traded and studied Lincoln cents in the hobby. Holding a 1945 wheat penny in your hand is like holding a piece of post-war optimism. Imagine the era, soldiers returning home, the country rebuilding, and the penny in circulation helping everyday Americans buy food, newspapers, and bus fares. It's a coin that passed through countless hands, carrying stories from one generation to the next. If you have a 1945 penny in your collection or pocket, there are a few steps you can take to check if it's valuable. First, look closely at the surface. Does it still shine with a reddish tint, or has it darkened to brown? Second, check for sharp details. The clearer Lincoln's features and the wheat stalks are, the more likely your coin is to be worth extra. And finally, look for any unusual errors or doubling. Even a small minting variation can turn an ordinary penny into something special. Collectors often grade these coins on the Sheldon scale, ranging from low-grade circulated examples to mint state 60 and beyond. The most desirable are those graded MS65 red and higher, with coins at MS67 or MS68 commanding premium prices. Each small jump in grade can mean a huge difference in value, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars more. It's also worth noting that the copper composition of these coins makes them beautiful over time. Copper can tone naturally into golden, reddish, or even violet hues. When this toning appears evenly and attractively, It adds to the coin's visual appeal and collector demand. These naturally aged surfaces are part of what makes each wheat penny unique. The 1945 no mint mark wheat penny also marks one of the final years of the classic wheat design. Just over a decade later, in 1959, the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat ears with the Lincoln Memorial design. That makes every wheat penny, including the 1945 issue, a nostalgic reminder of a bygone era in American coinage. For new collectors, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is a great starting point. It's historically important, easy to find in lower grades, yet capable of holding real value in higher ones. For experienced collectors, it's a rewarding coin to search for in top condition, especially those vivid red uncirculated examples that remain among the most eye-catching of all wheat pennies. And remember, even though billions were minted, quality is rare. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a $14,950 coin is all in the preservation. If you come across one that looks unusually bright, sharp, and free from marks, you might want to get it checked out, because it could be a high-grade survivor worth far more than you expect. So while the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark might seem ordinary, it holds an extraordinary place in America's coinage history. It's a coin that represents the nation's recovery from war, a tribute to craftsmanship, and proof that small details can lead to big discoveries. The record-breaking auction sale of $14,950 for a single coin shows that collectors continue to recognize the true value and beauty of these classic Lincoln cents. From history to rarity to pure nostalgia, the 1945 no mint mark wheat penny captures it all. The American story in copper form, the value of preservation, and the timeless lesson that even the smallest coin can hold incredible worth. Next up, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark is one of those classic American coins that carries not only a small piece of copper, but also a big story about mid-century America. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary 1-cent piece, but what many collectors and coin enthusiasts don't realize is that this coin can be incredibly valuable under the right conditions. The 1952 D wheat penny represents a moment in history when the United States was thriving in the post-war era, and millions of these coins were minted in Denver. Yet some of them, especially those that survived in pristine, untouched condition, have become treasures worth far more than 1 cent. The 1952 D wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is signified by the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The Denver Mint was known for producing some of the sharpest, most precisely struck Lincoln cents of the 1950s, but not all of them were perfect. That means finding a flawless coin today can be a real challenge, and that's where the excitement begins for collectors and investors alike. The obverse side features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which first appeared in 1909. This design became one of the most beloved and enduring images in U.S. coinage history. The reverse shows the famous 2 wheat ears, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and agricultural strength. Above them appears the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, reminding us of America's unity during a time of growth and change. By 1952, the United States Mint had long returned to using the classic 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy after the temporary 1943 steel cent experiment during World War II. So this penny, like most wheat pennies of the era, is made of true copper, giving it that rich, warm reddish-brown tone that collectors love. Over time, copper tones can evolve beautifully, developing deep, attractive colors that make each coin unique. The Denver Mint produced a total of 746,130,1952 D Lincoln wheat pennies. While that's a large mintage number, it doesn't mean that high-quality survivors are common today. Most of these coins were heavily circulated and show signs of wear, loss of luster, and contact marks. That's why finding a 1952 D penny in mint state condition, especially with full red luster, is both rare and valuable. In circulated condition, a 1952 D penny might only be worth a few cents to a few dollars. But the story changes dramatically when you find one in uncirculated or mint state condition, particularly those graded MS, 65 red, MS 66 red, or higher. Collectors are willing to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for exceptional examples. The highest price ever recorded for a 1952 D. Lincoln Wheat penny shows just how valuable this coin can be when preserved perfectly. At a professional coin auction, a 1952 D. Wheat penny graded MS 67 plus red sold for an astonishing $9,600. That single penny, originally worth just 1 cent, achieved nearly $10,000 at auction because of its flawless condition, radiant color, and nearly perfect strike. That's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. The idea that a small copper coin, if preserved with care, can become a prized investment piece. The reason coins like that reach such impressive prices lies in their condition, eye appeal, and scarcity in top grades. Only a tiny fraction of the original 1952 D mintage survived with full red surfaces and minimal marks. As copper coins age, they tend to darken or tone brown over time. Those that stayed bright and red, protected from oxidation, are the ones that command huge premiums from collectors. When you hold a 1952 D. Wheat penny, you're holding a coin from a time when the United States was growing rapidly. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. The American economy was booming, and copper pennies jingled in the pockets of hard-working Americans across the nation. That connection to history gives every wheat penny an emotional and nostalgic value that modern coins simply can't replicate. Now, if you want to know whether your 1952 D penny might be worth serious money, here's what to look for. Start with the color. If it still has that bright copper red look, it's likely in better condition. Next, examine the strike quality. Sharp details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat are good signs. The reverse should also have crisp wheat lines and bold lettering. Then, look for any unusual minting errors or varieties. Sometimes, you'll find repunched mint marks, die cracks, or even minor doubling on the date or lettering. Such features can add extra value and make the coin even more desirable among collectors. Collectors also classify wheat pennies by color designation: BN brown, RB red-brown, and RD red. A fully red coin is considered the most desirable and can multiply the value many times over. While a brown example might sell for just a few dollars, the same coin in full red luster can reach hundreds or even thousands, depending on grade. Over time, the wheat penny design has become one of the most beloved coin types in the United States. The 1952 D edition marks one of the later years of this design, as the series would come to an end in 1958 when the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced the wheat ears. That change makes every wheat penny, from 1909 through 1958, a historic collectible. But coins like the 1952 D, produced in the post-war years, have a special charm because they reflect a period of optimism and progress in American history. It's also interesting to note that the Denver Mint, during the early 1950s, had some of the best quality control among the U.S. mints. Still, slight differences in die wear, striking pressure, or planchet quality led to subtle variations among coins. That's why collectors often hunt through rolls and bags of old wheat pennies, hoping to find that one perfectly struck, blazing red example hiding among the rest. The value of a 1952 D. Lincoln Wheat penny continues to rise with collector demand. Coin enthusiasts, investors, and even beginners look for these coins because they're affordable to start with but have excellent potential to appreciate over time. As fewer high-grade coins remain available, prices for top-condition examples are expected to increase further in the coming years. Even in circulated grades, the 1952 D penny has an enduring appeal. It's a beautiful piece of Americana, small, simple, and full of meaning. Many collectors started their coin journeys by finding wheat pennies in their pocket change, and that's one reason this series holds such sentimental value in the hobby. Every 1952 D. Lincoln Wheat penny tells a story. Maybe it was used to buy a newspaper, a cup of coffee, or a child's piece of candy. Over the decades, these pennies traveled across countless hands and miles, witnessing generations of American life. And yet, some survived untouched, kept safe in drawers, albums, or collections. Those are the coins that today bring thousands at auction. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about the money or the rarity. It's about holding history. The 1952 D-Wheat penny represents a nation's strength, its recovery after war, and its growing prosperity. It's a coin that connects us to our past and reminds us of how even the smallest details in history can become meaningful treasures. So, if you have a 1952 D Lincoln Wheat penny, take a moment to look at it closely. Look at the D mint mark just below the date. Check its shine, its color, its tiny details. You might just be holding something far more valuable than you realize. Even though billions were made, only a few remain in perfect condition. And as that record auction of $9,600 proved, a 1-cent coin can sometimes be worth more than a gold piece if it's preserved perfectly. The next time you sort through an old coin jar, a relative's coin collection, or even your childhood savings, keep an eye out for the 1952 D Lincoln Wheat penny. Because one of those small copper coins might be a hidden gem, an American treasure that tells the story of its time and rewards the person who discovers its true worth. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed learning about these fascinating and valuable Lincoln Wheat pennies. Each of these old coins tells a real story about American history. And who knows, you might have one sitting in your collection or change jar right now that's worth far more than you think. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with other coin collectors or friends who love American coins. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos on rare and valuable U.S. coins. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me if you've ever found one of these rare wheat pennies or any other valuable coin in your collection. Your stories and finds make this community even more exciting. And before you go, don't forget to check out my previous video on Jefferson nickels. Those coins can be surprisingly valuable too. And you might be shocked by how much some of them have sold for at auction. So go ahead, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos where we uncover the hidden value behind America's most interesting coins. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.